What's going on, everybody? UCF Jaguar here with GenJag.com, and last Sunday the Los Angeles Rams traveled to Jacksonville and they handed it to us. We lost by a score of 27-17, and in this video we're going to pretty much do an extended little recap about what I thought of this game. So let's get it.
It's a foot race. Robinson and Browner, and it's Robinson who wins it. Touchdown, Jacksonville. His 14th win. Bortles with top, looking deep for Robinson.
So by far the biggest factor of this loss was how terrible our special teams was. Our special teams literally gave away 17 points alone. 7 of those points were on the opening kickoff return. Another 7 of those points were off of a block punt return for a touchdown. And then one of them was off of Brad Nortman's foot, who punted it like 12 yards. The defense goes out and forces a 3 and out, but they were within field goal range, so they pretty much tacked on 3 points from that. So that's 17 points right there. You are not going to win games if you're giving up 17 points on special teams. And on top of that, Jason Myers went 1 for 3 on field goals this game. Should have been 0 for 3, but he got a mulligan. And that pretty much led to him being cut. You know what I mean? That, of course, it's been, leading up to this. His consistency has been really bad, especially this season. But it was just an absolutely terrible performance by our special teams. And that's honestly really surprising to me because going into this season, special teams is a huge emphasis. They went out and sought Joe DeCamillis himself. Like, that was their #1 guy. They wanted to bring him in because they thought last year our special teams wasn't good enough. And, Tom Coughlin and stuff thought that this was a big reason leading up to our terrible 3-13 record last year. So for them to go out there and just do bad on multiple aspects of special teams, kickoffs, punts, and all that kind of stuff, it just wasn't fun to watch. And I also don't want to be that guy that blames things on the refs or anything, because honestly, this game wasn't the refs' fault. It's not like they messed up a call like right at the end of the game that would have led to something. They blew some calls earlier on, but there were 2 huge calls that they missed that would have completely changed the game in my eyes. One of them was that blatant Marquise Lee pass interference. Like, they literally turned him around. They turned him around. For whatever reason, they don't call a, penalty on that. But the thing is, right after that, it led to a 4th down and then eventually a block punt the very next play. So that block punt probably doesn't happen because that would have led to a 1st down, and then we would have had a new set of chains going, and just that was such a huge missed call. And then also that scoop and score. I believe it was Telvin Smith that stripped the fumble, and referees these days are trained that if there's a questionable fumble, you let them take it and go for a touchdown or recover it and do whatever, because you can always go back and reverse the call after it happens. All turnovers are reviewed, but the thing is about this is they blew it dead, and there's a clear recovery by Jacksonville. But once they blow it dead, you can't advance. So referees are trained to be able to let these plays go, and just the fact that they didn't let that go, it was just unbelievable to me. Like, that was just what a terrible thing. But another big factor in this loss was our passing game. Now let me go ahead and say this: Blake Bortles is bad. He's not a good quarterback. His pocket awareness has been pretty bad. Like last game, like he's really skittish. He's sliding a lot. His feet aren't good. He's not setting his feet, and which is leading to a lot of bad throws. And he's not seeing open receivers. And Blake Bortles is not going to be our quarterback next year. You know what I mean? Most likely Chad Henne and Blake Bortles are going to be off the team. I think we're going to have 2 new quarterbacks in. But, Blake's not a very good quarterback. But with all that said, I want to say this, though. I'm sitting up here in the 400s level. Shout out to Jacob Forster for the extra ticket. And I'm sitting there looking at the field after Allen Hurns gets injured. And I'm looking at this like, okay, who can we give the ball to? I see Marquise Lee there. Marquise Lee is pretty good. Then I see our second receiver as an undrafted rookie out of Kentucky Wesleyan. I see our third receiver as Max McCaffrey, a dude that we signed off of a practice squad that no one in the NFL wanted. I saw our receiving threat tight end and O'Shaughnessy, who we got cut from the Patriots, we pretty much picked up. So our wide receiving group is freaking trash. Like, we have no weapons to get the ball to. They are pretty much leaving these guys covered one-on-one, and not much separation is going on. The only guy that's really getting anything done, in my opinion, on these plays are really when it comes to getting separation and stuff like that and playmaking is Marquise Lee. Allen Hurns, he's a possession receiver, but just our receiving core is so thin. We have nobody to get the ball to. We have no threats. Hopefully, D.D. Westbrook is coming back in a couple weeks. That'll be really good. We desperately need some playmaking action out there. And one thing that I see potentially happen is, D.D. Westbrook. He'll finally be that guy that can actually go deep and do some things deep. We all thought Marquise Lee was going to be that, but I think what Marquise Lee is, he's more of a guy that, you can get the ball to, and he's really good in traffic. He's got good agility. I like him on these bubble screens and like these slants, just because he's really agile. He can move around really well. He made a lot of good plays happen just in that little kind of area. But our passing game just as a whole was bad. And even this game, our offensive line did not do very well. Blake Bortles this game went 23 for 35, 66% completion percentage, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. But, it just looked a lot clunkier than that. The reason I mention all that is because a lot of people are out here putting all the blame on Bortles. Bortles is of course a huge factor in that, but we gotta realize, man, we have no guys that are really getting much separation. I'm up here, I was up there at the top just looking, trying to find wide receivers, and they just weren't getting open. There wasn't much separation going on. And then these guys are low in the box, blitzing every play, leaving these guys in one-on-one coverage. And it's such a recipe for disaster. Now, one thing that I just don't understand, why we don't do, is say if we have the ball at our own 40-yard line, it's a 3rd and 12. Why don't we just put when we put Aurelius Ben out there at wide receiver, it's usually so obvious that we're going to be running the ball. But why don't we just take the ball, do a fake, and then have Bortles do a 5-step drop, and then just chuck the ball up as far as it can, throw it 50, 60 yards. If we catch it, that's freaking awesome. It's a huge chunk play. It's our biggest passing play of the year. If it gets intercepted, it's pretty much a punt. You know what I mean? If you're going to throw the ball 40, 50 yards, that's pretty much a punt. You know what I mean? I'll give them that. But I just think we have to start throwing some stuff deep, because just start having some kind of threat downfield. It's just so frustrating. Some more things with our offense. I think Fournette had a great game. He was the workhorse running back. He got all but 3 carries this game, and that 75-yard touchdown run was freaking outstanding. He's a ton of fun to watch. On the offensive line, I thought Shatley and Amami were kind of getting worked by Aaron Donald. There's a reason why Aaron Donald is so good, and we had our backup center out there. So, that'll be the toughest 3 technique we face all year. But on a defensive side, I thought that Miles Jack played really well. I thought that Telvin Smith played really well. Calais Campbell, he got 2 sacks. That was freaking great. That guy has to be the best free agency signing this whole NFL season, around all teams. This guy is very much in contention for the Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if they do American AFC Defensive Player of the Year or how it is, but this guy has to be in contention for Defensive Player of some kind of thing. But I do think our defense did really well. We only truly held them to 10 points on our defense, but they got 27 because of our special teams. You know what I mean? It's got to be so frustrating. Jalen Ramsey, it's funny, you can just tell he hates losing. And real quick thing about Jalen Ramsey, it's kind of interesting with him just because you only see him embracing certain offensive players. The only 2 players I've actually seen him come out on the field and give some props to was Al Robinson last year and Leonard Fournette this year. Jalen Ramsey and all those guys, they know that Leonard Fournette is the real deal. And they have a great amount of respect for them. But they don't have much respect for any other part of our offense, it seems. But one thing that really perplexed me was what Doug Marrone did at the end of the game. He went out there and it was a 50-something yard. We were down 10 points and with a minute and a half left. And he goes out and kicks a 50-something yard field goal when we're still down 10. Now, I could see him doing that if maybe it was 30 seconds left, we get a field goal, then we try to get an onside to basically set us up for a Hail Mary. But I just thought there was way too much time left to be trying that crap. And Why don't we just try to get 10 more yards and get like a closer field goal? I mean, they're playing prevent defense, so I think it would have been easier to get those yards, but it was just Doug Marrone. I thought this was one of his worser games as our head coach. But yeah, the Jaguars dropped this one 27-17. We're back on that win-loss thing. We're 0-2 at home right now, unfortunately. The Jaguar fans came, they were loud, but Jaguars didn't deliver themselves. But the Jaguars move on to 3-3. We have the Indianapolis Colts next year, who seem to kind of get better and better every year, so that's definitely not a gimme. I think it's going to be super evenly matched, but it's going to be a game that we have to go get. But with all that said, this is UCF Jaguar with your boys from GenJag.com, and we out.
Bye, Felicia.